Kennard Brennan Stewart here for the podcast Talking Auburn Football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. The question I have for the Auburn fan base tonight, just a temperature check, I want to see where you're at now. Where do you think Auburn is headed going into the 2021 season? We remember back in December, we all know where we were when the news hit. I was actually asleep. I was enjoying a nice Sunday afternoon nap. Woke up to the news. One of my subscribers / helpers with the content sent me a text message saying, your boy is gone. I was like, you know how you wake up from sleep and you're kind of not all the way in there? I'm like, what are you talking about? Breaking news, Gus Malzahn is no longer the coach at Auburn. Hindsight, we look at it, there was nothing from that Mississippi State win that would give us the indication that the Auburn program would move in a different direction coming into the next season. Pulling away from Mississippi State, winning that game, I think 24-10 or 6 or something like that. Nobody left that game with a good feeling. Yeah, we can yell War Eagle after the win, but we didn't feel good about it. Apparently, the administration didn't feel good about it either. Gus Malzahn is gone. Coaching search. Any name you can throw out there. Hugh Freeze, Sarkisian. Now you wind up with Bryan Harsin. Who the heck is Bryan Harsin? Well, we've kind of found, excuse me, kind of found out who he was. I mean, he's Boise State's coach. 69-19, had a nice run there. Had a nice presser, said, hey, he's going to do what he's got to do to get this program steering in the right direction. Well, as it turns out, the talk is starting not to be cheap. Let's go back to the 2019 offseason, after the 9-4 season. Auburn had a lot of guys. Matter of fact, Auburn had Velus Jones from USC, from the state of Alabama. He was in the transfer portal, right? Auburn targeted Velus Jones. Velus Jones actually goes to Tennessee, a dumpster fire, instead of coming to Auburn. I mean, that might be somewhat of an indication of where the program was headed. But in hindsight, I didn't necessarily see it. A couple of other guys in that transfer portal Auburn targeted absolutely did not come to Auburn, went somewhere else. Fast forward, Bryan Harsin inherits arguably the worst recruiting class in Auburn recent history. He's kind of salvaged that thing, actually. Bought it from a 30, maybe 40 recruiting class. Finished up at 19. And now you tailor the recruits the transfer portal. From a skill set standpoint, you might be looking at a, maybe 14, 15 recruiting class for 2021. Maybe. Here's the kicker, though. Auburn actually signed Donovan Kaufman, who was a cornerback at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt actually a charter member of the SEC. Some may argue that, why is Vanderbilt even in the SEC? Charter member, can't get rid of them. It is what it is. They benefit financially from all of the New Year's Six Bowls, national championships, blah, blah, blah. You got to be a smart guy to go to Vanderbilt. Donovan Kaufman obviously was that guy. He commits to Auburn. Okay, cool. Here's the situation that I like from a perception standpoint at Auburn. Donovan Kaufman actually could have gone to Texas. And with the current rules at Texas, he would have actually played immediately. Auburn, however, there's going to be a vote in the early portion of June, which is going to come by pretty quick, that says, okay, are we going to let interconference players play immediately? So for all the Auburn fans out there, although the Donovan Kaufman signee it's definitely an excellent recruit, an excellent gain, but there's no guarantee based on the rules as it currently stands that he will play immediately. Who stands in the way of that rule? Now, I'll go and say that the teams that recruit pretty heavily and have the best recruiting classes in the conference will say, hey, you know what? We don't need an interconference rule. I'm going to tell you who's probably going to be at the top of the list of people that say that this shouldn't happen. Nicholas Saban is probably going to be one of them that says, no, we should not let interconference players go from one conference team and be immediately eligible to play for another, despite the NCAA rule. But we got the SEC rule that says that these guys should not be able to leave Vanderbilt and come to Auburn. They should not leave Ole Miss and go to LSU. And why would they say that? Nicholas Saban, Kirby Smart, maybe Ed Orgeron. I don't think he has a dog in this particular fight because the situation at LSU is super shaky. I don't think Dan Mullen would have a dog in this fight, but Kirby Smart and Nicholas Saban will say no. You ought to get him up front. But no, we can't get him up front. That's another argument. That's another video. But those are going to be the two key factors in this whole situation to where they say, no, you should not be able to go to South Carolina and transfer and play for Tennessee the next year. That's going to be the argument. It's going to be real interesting to see how that transpires. But as far as Auburn goes, what do you think, though? How do you feel? These are guys that this wasn't the news this time last year. This wasn't the trajectory this time last year. Auburn got a guy from Northwestern to come. Right? Auburn is in a situation to where, no, I don't think this will be an Auburn team that will go, 10-2, 11-1, 12-0. No. But I think as the Tigers piece the trajectory together, they have an opportunity to compete in every game they play. Is that what you want? Yeah, sure. We go back to the Tommy Tuberville era where it was enjoyable to be an Auburn fan. These guys competed every game up until 2008, and that's when the demise of Tommy Tuberville came. But didn't you enjoy Auburn football? Even in a loss, Auburn competed to the end. They played really good football during that time. That's all we want. That's all. Excuse me. That's all we want coming into the 2021 season. To have respectable football. To where when you look at this football team on the field, you're like, hey, this is something I can get with. We might have lost by 3 points to LSU. We might have lost by 7 to Georgia. Hell, we might have lost to 14 to Alabama. But it felt good what I watched. The future of this particular team and this coaching staff feels good. Maybe that's what you want. Because I guarantee you what you don't want is you don't want Bryan Harsin. I mean, it'll be great. But for your own personal sanity moving forward, you don't want a one-hit wonder out of Bryan Harsin. You don't want Bryan Harsin to look up, go to the SEC championship, go to the college football playoff, and then your Auburn Tiger expectation, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Gus Malzahn, you know what I'm talking about. The Gus Malzahn era goes to the national championship the first year and never able to duplicate it. You put him on the fire from then on. I have my quarrels with Gus Malzahn, but the biggest mistake he made was going to the national championship year one and not winning and not being able to go back. Let's be real about Auburn football for once. Let me know what you think about this video. Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Like the video, comment, and subscribe. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.